Two Hex Garage here. Well, here's kind of an update on what we got going on. We showed you part one of body panel alignment. Part two, it's not going to be the nose cone as we initially planned. When we decided that we were going to box this frame for rigidity, we knew the factory Crossmember wasn't going to work. Kyle got himself a really nice aftermarket Crossmember. It's one of those kind of DIY kits that you bolt and weld up into place. It's going to make things a lot more rigid. We did go ahead and box that frame. Like I said before, the 6872 GMA bodies weren't boxed unless it was a convertible. Obviously you can see this is a hardtop. So what we're going to do today for part two, so we can get it on the ground, make it a roller, finish everything on the body panels, is we're going to install this Crossmember, get it into place. Prior to making a video, we went ahead and centered everything with the transmission, the motor, the drivetrain, got all our degrees set, so that's ready to go. So right now it's literally just going to be putting this heavy duty Crossmember in there and go from there. What do you think, Kyle?
You got it. Yeah, just a quick shout out to ABC Performance. You know, if you're looking for something you can't find for A bodies in general, this is their Crossmember that is designed for the boxed-in frames. Now, there is a little bit of work that we're going to have to do. You know, we know we're going to have to do some grinding. Not every frame is going to have the exact same. So, as expected, they're going to give you a little bit more than you need on your shims. So we're going to have to get those down to what the size that we need for our application. But for the most part, I think this is a pretty straightforward install.
Awesome. We're going to get to work. We're going to show you what we got going on, provide an update here and there. And here's part two of body alignment panel, kind of, just to make it a roller. Here we go. Alright, quick update here, guys. So what we did is we went underneath the car and we lined up where we wanted the actual mount to sit. And once we figured out where we want it, where it's going to tie into the new frame rail section, we went ahead and pulled it out. As you can see in this area here, we actually made the slots bigger. It gives us a little bit more room to play for that. And to make it solid, obviously you can see we went ahead and got everything welded up. So now, step two for this is to actually go under the car here, as you can see, and what we're going to do is we're going to mount it up into that urethane transmission mount. And then from there, we're going to go on each side, get it all tacked up into place. Probably have to grind the tabs a little bit, and she'll be in there. So like we said before, we did go ahead and set the angle, and we know we're right, and now it's just a little bit of fabrication, getting up there and getting stuff welded. See you in a few. All right, kind of a quick update. If you look right along that frame rail, you see where the tabs are at for the actual Crossmember. We went ahead and did the same thing over here. We got everything put into place where it needs to be at a good angle. Also made sure that it's straight. Went ahead and tacked them in place. So now the game plan is what we're going to do is we're going to actually go through on these tabs and get them welded into place, you know, perfectly, get everything set back up there, and we're ready to go. If you can see on this one here, it does hang a little bit lower. That's just the geometry of where the frame was and how it's kind of just a little bit off here compared to the way it used to be. So everything's going to be welded into place. We're going to grind that nice and smooth, make sure it's there, run a bead down the bottom, and we're going to be good. So as you can see, both sides are actually into place. We're good to go. So Kyle's going to work some magic, weld it all up. We'll put it back in, tighten it, and she'll be ready to mold into place and be good. More to come. All right, well, we just got done welding everything into place and get everything painted. If you guys saw what we did after we welded everything, got everything in there, we went ahead and painted the frame area that we welded before along with the new tabs that we put in place for the Crossmember. We don't use anything crazy. What we use for that is a Krylon paint, which is that right there. It's Krylon Rust Protector. It works really well. It's only $5 or $6 a can, and it really is a nice little investment for doing that. So what we did with our actual Crossmember, I went ahead and painted it with VHT's roll bar and chassis paint. It's good up to 250 degrees or so. It's really hard and durable, and I use it for rear ends and pieces like this. It keeps it from rusting, and it provides a durable coating on there. So while that dries, what we're going to do over here, what Kyle's doing, is we had to take the seats out prior to all of this to get in there and redo the body mounts, take the drive shaft loop out, all that type of stuff. So when we did that, if you can see here, the body mounts that were prior in here, they were actually all rusted, broken up. So when we took that out, what we did is we made new plates. We had to cut in here a little bit, little tips we actually did find on YouTube. So everything's tightened into place and all that. So Kyle's going to go ahead and kind of get that ground down flush, put that in there, get that welded, get it all seam sealed, get it all done. We're good to go. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. So we're going to go ahead and get working on that. As you can see underneath here, we kind of got everything in place. Sorry if it's bad camera ship stuff. I'm not an expert. We're just hacking away at this. So Kyle's going to go ahead and get started on that. So we'll see you here in a few.
Ready? Yep. All right, coming at you with a little tech tip. Often we have bolts we need to cut down, shorten to a length that we desire. A good way to do this is to take your bolt, take a nut. If you want to, double nut it, lock it down to the spot where you want to cut it. You can see where I've marked it. You can see a little blue mark right in there, maybe on the back side. But the idea is with using the nut to secure where we want to lock to, it's going to make sure that once I take this nut off that I can get it back on. If I were to try to cut this bolt down without having a nut on it, there's a good chance you won't be able to get the nut to re-thread back to it. So, like I said, nut, put it in the vise, just hacksaw it down. Okay, moment of truth. I just cut it down to the size I want. You can see it's got a nice, pretty good cut on it. Let's see if the nut goes back on. We hope that it does, and it does. Like I say, without setting the nut there on it when I did the cut, there's a good chance it wouldn't have got a good perfect cut and be able to thread the nut back onto it without completely rethreading the bolt. There you go.
All right, while we're waiting for the Crossmember to dry, we went ahead and threw the interior back in, got everything nice and buttoned up. As you can see, this car actually has a really nice interior in it. Cleans up very nice. Little tip we did there. I'm sure a lot of guys saw us grinding and welding in the car. We didn't hurt anything with it. As you go through these cars and do more and more, you know what you can get away with on grinding and all that before you really hurt something, burn something, and just do something that's going to cost you a lot of money. We've been at this for a while, so we kind of know little tips and tricks and how far we can push things. But one of the nice little tips and tricks on this is, after you get done doing that, go over the interior of the car, make sure you didn't burn anything, but you just wipe it down with a cleaner. Get all the splatter, the schmeg, the whatever you want to call it, just get that all off, and it makes for a much nicer result. Like I said, interior's done. It's in there. We'll probably do more final cleaning as we go through it and all that. But as you can see, it's all in there. So that part's done. Now the Crossmember, which we'll go over here and show you, should be nice and dry. We went ahead and put a couple coats of paint on that. Actually turned out pretty well. Not too shabby. And, you know, it looks good. It's one of those things you're really not going to see. But at the same time, you know, put a good paint on there so it's durable, doesn't rust. That's the main important part. So here we go, guys. Time to put the Crossmember in. All right, well, we got everything buttoned up in there. Everything's been painted, welded, ground, adjusted, angles right. So as you can see, it's all nice and up in there. A little tip that we did, since we did straighten the frame on this, when Kyle had this car before and, you know, we put the motor in with the bent frame, Kyle had another good tip and trick. At the end of that time lapse, you probably saw him up in the front adjusting the motor mounts. Well, here's why. Up in here, there is an actual angle play of this motor. And when we put the motor in, it wasn't exactly 100% straight. So when we were playing around with the geometry with all this, and after we got everything straight, we went ahead and loosened the motor mounts on this, got everything actually where it needs to be straight. We centered our drive shaft loop, got our angle correctly, and that's where you saw us playing with all this geometry. Held it in place actually here with that toe strap, whatever you want to call it, zip strap, and that just kept it into place where it needed to be. We got everything tightened up. There's no binds anywhere, and you know, it actually looks really good too. We did have a polyurethane bushing in here for rigidity. You can see here everywhere along the frame rail where it's been boxed. So this is just going to really add to the strength of this car. Kyle does plan on driving this thing a lot, cruises. Obviously there's going to be some drag race element to it. But for the most part, we want this thing just to be a very, very solid car. So I'm going to hand this off to Kyle. He can explain a few more things.
Yeah, like Jeff was saying, having the motor mount loose allowed us to get our driveline angle just perfect. The gentleman at ABC Performance recommended with the high torque application that if you're going to have your driveline favor either side, have it favor the passenger side just slightly. So when all that torque comes in and it wants to shift a little bit to the driver's side, you don't run into an issue with it hitting over there. So like I said, if anything, go a little bit to the left. Really happy with how everything turned out today. Thanks to Jeff for all the help today. Wouldn't get this far without other help, other hacks, as we like to call ourselves.
Yep, the hacks.
So have a good day. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Real quick, No Name Nationals. If you watch a video that we're going to have pretty soon, we are making a pretty big call out. It's going to be fun, exciting. No Name Nationals, go out and check out everybody's channels, like, subscribe, share. Find us on Instagram, 2 Hacks Garage. There's going to be a part 3 on this to get it on the ground, start doing the rest of the panel, so stay tuned and enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Later.